Hello slashing friends, I'm happy to give you my endgame Lich build on Last Epoch, which is very tanky, has solid DPS, and that you'll see it's quite easy to reach 300 corruption. I'll explain how it works in that video, and if you like the content, don't forget to subscribe. I'll start this video with how it works because the gameplay is quite easy, but the mechanism behind can be very hard. So I'll start with what's easy. You have the transplant in order to give you some bone armor and mobility, and you have the spirit plague in order to increase your damage, and you can also spam this spell when you are doing some monoliths. Then you have the wandering spirit. You want to channel them in order to gain some wards and have a good DPS, especially on bosses or elites, and after it gets a bit harder. For the aura, it will greatly boost your damage as long as enemies are within the aura, so make sure to be nearby the bosses in order to make it work. You'll also see that you must always have this aura as long as you're in the Reaper form. It will just work as a charm, so don't worry too much, but when you click the Reaper form, you'll also click the aura. You'll also have something very special about the aura, is this node just here, because it will heal you based on the missing heals. It will be one of the conditions in order to be permanently under the Reaper form. Because when you are in the Reaper, you lose some life and it will be compensated by this aura. It's a bit bugged in this area, but you'll see that in the gameplay it works very well. You also have two last things in order for you to always be under the Reaper form. First one, if you have any issue, you can use a potion, it will heal your life. And the second one is that you'll have some leech with your spell, so that's why you can cast the Spirit Plague during the Monolith and it will heal you back your life. The last thing about this character is that we have plenty of stuff working with intelligence, so ideally you should be around 100 of intelligence. Now for the skill tree. If you're in the leveling, you want first to get the Wandering Spirit, then the Transport, the Reaper form, the aura, and lastly the Spirit Plague. For the Wandering Spirit, you want to have this one in order to channel them, the poison just here, and the reveal, the targeted, and this one in order to increase your single damage. For Transplant, you want to have the bone armor with the buffies, the fact that you'll have haste and frenzy, and the kill threshold at 15%. For the Reaper form, you want to get the poison here and 1 point here in order to increase your poison resistance per point of intelligence. You also want to have 3 points here in order to increase your ward retention. You can put 1 point here in order to have no cooldown shared between Rip and Transplant, and then for the aura of decay, 4 points for the healing, 4 points to have less poison damage, and also increase your damage to single target. You want to have this node which will debuff the poison resistance based on your intelligence. It will also affect you, but don't worry because we have this node here which will mitigate this effect. So in the end it will just crazy debuff your enemies, and you want to have 3 points just here. For the Spirit Plague, you want to have the increased duration, and this one for the damage, this one for the plague, this one to have a chance to spread, and this one to apply frailty stacks and decrease your enemy's damage. There's also another setup. If you don't want to play Transplant, you can switch back the points just here, so you remove them, you remove Transplant, and you can either go for Hungry Soul with this one just here in order to trigger it, so you don't have to cast this spell, or you can even consider the Death Seal if you want. For the gears, you have very easy to find gears and some which are a bit harder. So first you have this one, it's quite easy to have with 4 legendary potentials, and you can get on it increased damage over time, poison damage, some resistances and ward per second. You also have here these rings with poison damage, elemental resistance, heals and intelligence, which is quite easy to find. The two next are a bit harder, but around 10 million, 20 million on the Merchant Guild, and you want on it +4 to Reaper form, increase armor, and for this one, hybrid heals and intelligence if possible. You also get a third item in order to convert your life into wards, which is this one, so you get damage over time, some resistances, and hybrid life. If you want, you can also consider these gloves in order to have increased damage. Then for the belt, you want to have poison damage, the fact that you'll cleanse all ailments when you use a potion, and increase heals. You can also think about these belts, they are a bit hard to find, so this one in order to have additional ward on potion, and this one to have some ward when you spend some mana. If you use this belt, just make sure on the leash that you want to remove 1 point here, for example, in order to put it here and to have the double effect of the potion. For the relic, you'll want a +4 to aura of decay, intelligence, and some heals and resistances. And for the amulet, damage over time, less damage over time taken, poison penetration, poison damage, and some resistances. For your weapon, make sure to have a scepter because you'll have some increased damage over time, poison damage, chance to poison on hit, and poison penetration. Finally, for the helmet, you want to have increased poison damage, intelligence, and some armor and heals. If you want to push 500-600 corruption, you'll also want to get this one with some good crafting, because this one will help you to get some ward per second, but it's a bit expensive to get. The thing is that on the Lich form, you'll be at 175%, so this one is quite good to have in this build. For the idols, you want to have poison damage over time and poison damage, singularity, and this one in order to have less damage over time when you are in the Reaper form. You can also consider this one if you want to have some increased damage but lose a bit of tankiness. For the blessings, you want to have ward decay threshold, or you can get some hits if you want. This one for the ward decay threshold too. This one for the chance to trade poison resistance, armor, and armor just here. For the leveling passives, you want to get 20 points in order to unlock the Lich, but 10 points in order to unlock Aura of Decay, and you want to get to the Warlock, so you can have the ward per second when you are channeling and the damage reduction. Then you move back to Lich and you put everything here. So you want to get 8 points for the intelligence, this one for the ward retention, and this one in order to reach the 20. If you see that you have trouble staying in the Reaper form, you can also put 5 points just here, between 1 and 5 points, in order to reduce your health drain and to increase your health regen. For the Warlock, you want to have here 8 points for the damage, intelligence, and some mana, the channeling, and 5 points just here in order to cast a Nova. For the Lich, you'll get the intelligence, this one for the increased damage at low life, and this one increased poison damage duration, increased intelligence, some poison penetration, damage over time, and intelligence. Again, if you see that you have trouble staying in the Reaper form, you can remove some points here and just here in order to put them just here. So in the end game you won't be needing this one, but if you see that it's a bit hard during your leveling or that you don't have enough gear, you can just remove the points here, put it them, and it will be much easier in the Reaper form. For the gameplay, when you enter a Monolith, you want to get into the Reap form and activate your aura. You can also use transplants in order to be faster and to gain bone armor, and otherwise just use your spirit plays on your enemies. It will help you to stay into the Reaper form because you'll have the leash from the spirit plague. When you have a pack, elites, or a boss, you want to channel the Wandering Spirit, and by doing so, you'll also gain plenty of ward. In the end, you'll have some good DPS, but also be very tanky in order to push further with this build. I'll let you enjoy the gameplay and see you at the end of the video. Thanks for watching this video. Don't forget that as usual you have our guides and builds and also the tools on SlashingCreeps.com.